On this video today, I'm going to show you what to do, or at least what you can do with a plant that has become a problem because it's been in a pot for too long. This is a paniculata hydrangea called Silver Dollar. It is a beautiful hydrangea. It's a great selling plant, but the one I have in front of me is looking rather wilted. So let me show you what to do with this plant in this circumstance. If you're new to my channel, good to see you. If you're not, it's good to see you again, but either way, I'd love to have you subscribe to my channel and hit the notifications bell so you're aware when all of my new content comes out. Now, this hydrangea is in a 1.5 gallon pot, I believe, and the next size pot that I have is a 6 gallon pot. It's a huge pot. It's a big step up, but it will fill in this pot. The roots will fill in this pot in pretty short order. So I'm just going to take it out of this pot and pot it up into the much larger pot. The first thing we're going to do is take this giant pot and put just a few inches of potting soil on the bottom. It takes a ton of potting soil to do this, so always think ahead about how much potting soil you have and how many plants you have to pot up. Normally, this scoop, completely full, fills up one of the pots that I sell 95% of my plants in. So the fact that I'm doing scoop after scoop in here really makes you think about your resources of potting soil, and if you're using too much of it on one plant, there's always a financial aspect to this. So you don't want to use all of your potting soil potting up a few plants. So you always want to think through what you're doing. But I only have 2 of these giant hydrangeas that are in this particular situation. So I'm going to take 2 of them, pot them up in these big pots, and we'll give it a try and see how it goes. The next thing we're going to do is take the plant out of this pot that it's in. I can guarantee you this is going to be extremely root bound. Get a close-up of the roots. Oh yeah, extremely root bound plant, and that's why it is wilted in this pot even though it's freshly watered. When you have a plant like that, you want to just rough the roots up a little. Don't go crazy on a plant that's right in the growing season like this one is and it's still putting on fresh growth, but just kind of gently rough that root ball up just a little, and when you put it into its new pot, it will be ready to take off. Its roots will be ready to take off. So I still need to put even more potting soil in there. And now that's going to be ready to fill in around that and make a nice 6 gallon potted plant. So let's fill this in. So we're going to just fill in one scoop after another here. And in all honesty, I am pretty sure that this is the single biggest plant pot up job that I have ever done. I don't typically use pots this big. I don't typically deal with plants that are this large in my backyard nursery. I just don't have the space. Don't have the space to be dealing with situations like this, but I just thought I'd try it. And you can do this, you know, if you have a pot that's root bound in just a quart size pot or a ½ gallon or even a 1 gallon size pot, you can do the same thing. Just bump it up to the next size. You know, you may bump a quart to a gallon or a gallon to a gallon and a half. But in this case, I thought I had these giant pots and I thought we'd just give it a try. So what the heck, I'm gonna try it. It looks like maybe one more scoop may finish the deal here. So like I said previously, I normally take one of those scoops and fill up one of my pots that I normally use, a super full one, and I think I just use 9 or 10 scoops of potting soil on one plant. So again, consider how much of your potting soil you're using when you choose to do something like this in a huge pot. But again, just something to give a try. We want to put a couple of tablespoons of fertilizer in here, probably at least 3 in a plant this big. You know, it can probably even use more than that and it'll be fine. This is a slow release fertilizer that I use with all my plants, but potted up this big, it's going to take more than normal. And the final step is just watering this plant in. And a plant this big that has this much soil in it, that has this much fertilizer in it, that has this much plant in it, it's going to take quite a bit of water to soak that in there really good And yeah, it's going to just run through the pot like it always does, but that plant should perk up within 1 or 2 days and turn out to be a really awesome plant. So that's how you handle a root-bound plant in the nursery. So here I am the next day, and this is the giant hydrangea that I potted up yesterday into this huge, ridiculous sized pot. And in just a matter of hours yesterday after potting this up, this plant completely perked up. All the wilt was gone. And I wanted to really show you this, not as a really practical application, but just when you get a plant that's completely root bound in its pot, one way of solving that is just to bump it up to the next size. Now, don't bump this up into a 6-gallon pot. That's just ridiculous. This would be more practically have been put in probably a 3-gallon pot. If this thing grows out and blooms a little later this summer, and it will, and I'll show that to you, I'm going to ask, $50 or something for this plant. I'm not sure, and somebody will give me that, I'm sure, because it's going to be huge. It's going to be kind of unusual, and I only have 2 of them. It's not like I'm filling my nursery with these things, but it's just an idea of something you can do when you have root-bound plants, and also just kind of a fun nursery experiment to see if somebody will bite on a huge plant at a huge price eventually. So just something to think about. Just don't think that just because your plant has become wilted and root-bound and that it's outgrown its pot, that you've missed your opportunity to sell it and that you just got to throw it out. Because with a lot of plants, you can just bump them up to a bigger pot and make it a more valuable, larger plant by simply adding some potting soil, give it some time, and make it a more better product. That's all for this video. This is Savvy Dirt Farmer. I'll see you next time, and we'll give you an update on this, and we'll see how this project goes. Hope you're having a great day.